Well, hey everyone, this is Roger coming to you from Brickhouse Guitars once again. And boy, we have so many lovely guitars that have been arriving lately. This one is no exception. This is by Kieran McNally of Northern Ireland. And it is a lovely small bodied guitar. So it sort of fits right in between his parlor guitar and the OM. But it is a 14 fret, so but slightly shorter scale. Boy, this guitar is just opening up like crazy. It is lively, and well, I'm really excited to play it for you. But I have taken photographs as I normally do, and I have also invited Kieran all the way from Northern Ireland with the help of technology to help me describe this beautiful creation of his. So let's cut to that, and then of course I'm back and we will hear how the guitar sounds. Well, hey there, all the way in Northern Ireland. How are you, Kieran?
I'm very well. How are you? Good to speak to you.
I am fine. I'm excited to have you join me today and help me show off this beautiful S sort of parlor. Do you call that a parlor model guitar? But I'm excited to show it off.
Okay, great. Yeah, let's have a look, and hopefully I can talk you through what we've done with that particular guitar.
Perfect. Let's do it. All right. Well, here is this beautiful McNally S Custom guitar. Tell us a little bit about this model and the featured woods.
Okay, so this is my S model. The S stands for small. Really, this is like a small, short scale OM is how I tend to think of it. It's not that much smaller than an OM in comparison, but it does have a slightly shorter scale length, and the body depth is a little bit smaller. So I like to think this is a great songwriter's guitar. It's very comfortable, but there's not lacking in the tone or the sound or the playability. It's a full 14 fret body joint as well, whereas the parlor guitar I make, which actually is the exact same body shape as this, is a 12 fret joint. So yes, this is the S model.
All right. And then the back and sides.
The back and sides on this particular guitar are Indian rosewood, very nice set of Indian rosewood.
Yeah, it looks beautifully quarter sawn. So let's take a tour. I always start with the headstock. I love your headstock design. It's just sleek and elegant. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on that.
Well, I always favored headstock designs that moved inward slightly so that the splay of the strings was not quite as dramatic. And you'll see on the two outer E strings, the string is basically straight. So there's slightly less wear and pull on the nut there. But I always just preferred a slightly sleek headstock shape as opposed to quite a wide one. Um, and this headstock has gone through a few different versions over the years, but I'm quite happy with this one now, where the angle has come in a little bit. There's a nice sort of symmetry as well, that the space below the tuners to the nut is the exact same size as the space above the tuners where the logo is placed, and the spaces between are very similar too. So it has a kind of nice algorithmic kind of feel about it as you look at it.
Yeah, I feel like it's relaxing to look at,
Mm.
a
Yeah,
stress-free headstock. Tell us about your inlay there for the logo and your brand name.
I think that particular guitar has a decal, so it's like a printed. It's printed in gold metallic ink, and it's a transfer that's applied and then spread over to make it basically like it's been painted onto the wood. So the McNally logo is in an arch there, which reflects the headstock shape. That arch as well is part of other elements in the guitars. That the bottom of the fingerboard and the bottom of the bridge have the exact same curvature as well. The Celtic knot was actually what I started with. At first, I didn't put my name on the guitar, just the knot. And the knot was an interesting thing. It came from, I wanted a Celtic symbol, but I started thinking about what it is about guitars that I enjoy and making them, and why I love making them, and why it's challenging. And that's because there are different elements about making a guitar as opposed to making maybe other art or other functional pieces of materials like furniture. It has to sound good, it has to be beautiful, and it has to play well. And those to me were like the three most important elements. Without all of them, a great guitar isn't really great. So that's why I wanted some kind of three element.
I agree. It's quite a challenge for a luthier. It's not just accomplish one thing, it's many things that all have to come together. Of course, that looks like ebony, of course, for the onlay there. And then your a nut width, is that 1 3/4 or
Yes,
45 millimeter?
it would be 45 millimeters, and the closest measurement to that would be 1 3/4 inches. Yeah.
Right. Your fingerboard is ebony, I'm assuming.
Yes, on that guitar ebony.
Right. So as we move up, this is, as you said, a 14 fret neck joint. And there we get a glimpse of the binding, which is figured maple.
Yes, very lovely. Um, Amount of regular maple on that guitar. I think it really shimmers in the light.
It does. It does. So now it brings us to the top. And so this is Swiss spruce.
Yes, Swiss European spruce. Got that particular stock from Spanish supplier that I use a lot called Madeira's Barber. They're quite a big wood supplier in Europe,
Okay.
but very, very nice, clean soundboard.
It is very clean. It's a very silky, straight grain, slow growth, high altitude piece of wood, clearly, clearly. So, and it produces quite a remarkable tone that we're going to hear shortly. That brings us to your rosette. So that obviously is a very sort of simple and elegant design. Your thoughts quickly on rosette design?
Well, yes, I prefer the simple, sort of classic, elegant type of rosettes myself. This is what I would call my sort of base rosette or option one, and it's actually my personal favorite. I do like some bling and on certain guitars, but for certain other guitars, I think simple is better, and particularly with the S, the small body, somehow this rosette just suits it so well. And if you're trying to achieve a scheme of simplicity or elegance, I think the whole guitar has to match top to bottom, and this
Mhm.
guitar has that top to bottom.
It does. It's very balanced and elegant. I like your little trim too in the sound hole there. I guess it's ebony.
Yes, that's ebony, so I always bang the sound hole, and there's a couple of reasons why. Firstly, to strengthen the area. There's also another strengthening piece around the sound hole, so the soundboard is double thickness, just particularly around the sound hole. But the binding therefore then hides the join in those two pieces of wood. So in a
Right.
structural sense, it adds strength, but also for people who play quite heavy or with a pick, where they would really start to dig in at the edge of the soundboard,
Hmm.
this hardwood ring, which will really, really resist it and
Right.
give much more longevity to the edge of the sound. It's
You're
also
thinking you got those Irish pubs in mind. Yeah, very good. I'd never thought of that. Brilliant. That brings us to your bridge design, and I guess some quick thoughts on that.
yeah. So this particular bridge is ebony with some ebony pins and a bone saddle, same as the nut. All my guitars have a bone nut and saddle, which are individually made to each guitar. The design of the bridge, I went again through different variations through the years, and there's always been slight tweaks to the shape and size. But I wanted the design to reflect a little bit of the sort of history of my guitars and the development of them. In that I trained with a very sort of Celtic Irish maker and a very sort of traditional American maker, and I wanted the bridge shape to kind of reflect those things. So it has, a design, a shape on the back edge, which people might be familiar with in a kind of Celtic guitar, but it's scooped and scalloped like a traditional American guitar. So it was trying to bring those two together in a design that sort of told that story a bit.
Nice. A lot of thought. Very good. One feature before we flip the guitar around, you have the sound port on this guitar. Do you use sound ports a lot?
On request from customers, I do really like them, and particularly for this kind of small guitar that you can sit comfortably with on the sofa. It makes it more intimate. You don't feel like you're behind the guitar listening to it. You're more enveloped in the playing experience. It does reduce the projection a little bit out of the front of the guitar. That's kind of the trade off. But it does make for a great personal playing experience.
It does indeed. So we flip the guitar around now, and here is the back of the headstock. You have a beautiful, I guess that's ebony as well, on onlay there on the back, and a nice volute. And I can see some Goto 510 tuners. The finish on your neck, is it a little different than the body?
Yes, the rear of the neck is like a hand rubbed steel wool satin finish, so it does have a light sheen off it, but it's very tactile and kind of smooth, and you tend not to get kind of squeaks or anything, or like a feeling of any kind of stickiness. Um, and the beauty of that type of finish too is that over the years, as any kind of shine might develop, it's very easy to remove that again and bring it back to this satin feel.
Mhm. Yes, wonderful. Well, that brings us to the back of the guitar, and we can see the beautiful quarter sawn Indian rosewood. There's some really nice reddish tones in there. Is there anything you'd like to add to that to describe the back and sides?
Well, just beautiful, really. And Indian rosewood is just such a great timber for guitar making, and probably a little bit, even though it's so commonly used, maybe a little bit underrated because of that. But it does have just such a great density, a great workability. It's just so beautiful, and the guitars it makes are just consistently good. So it's really a great choice for so many players, and depending on what body size it's paired with and what soundboard, it can really do a lot for most people.
Wonderful. Well, here we're moving around to the lower bout, and you have a nice wedge there as well with Indian rosewood. And yeah, one final photograph. I just have to really, point out how much I appreciate the quality of your craftsmanship. You know, it's very, very clean and very, very maturely executed. It clearly shows you've taken a lot of great care to perfect the art of guitar building. So your design is wonderful, but the meticulous way that you build is also pretty darn impeccable. So that's the last photo I have. Thank you so much for helping me describe this beautiful guitar. And it's now time to move on and hear how it sounds. So cheers to you. Thank you for joining us. All right, time to hear this work of art. It is indeed a work of art, and it is a happy guitar. How's that for a term? It is joyful to play, but it's also very, very melodic. And one of the things that jumped out at me when I was sort of getting to know it is how resonant it is and how the notes ring very freely and easy. And one way I can show this to you is by simply playing one note at a time and then dampening, like killing that note and letting the rest of the strings ring sympathetically to each string. So let's start with an A note here, and I'm just going to play that note. Endless sustain. So when I'm playing these notes together, noodle, and then I'm going to grow the sound. And it doesn't cack, it just keeps going. Well, how fun is that? Really fun, actually. So thank you for watching, and I'm going to do my standard demo for you now. And if you have any interest in this guitar, please do get in touch. And please think about subscribing to our channel as well. Every subscription helps immensely. So cheers. Well, thank you, Kieran, for making such a marvelous guitar. Cheers, everyone.